Hi, listeners. Hi, my dear listeners, and hi, Tom. Today, my guest is Tom Abbott from Green Easy, which is the international consultancy agency present all over the world with offices in London, New York, Doha. And today we're talking about green buildings or sustainable buildings. In particular, we will explore the topic of energy efficiency in buildings, where we spend all of our time now. Tom, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more, please? You're welcome.
Okay, I've been working in the sustainability sector since 2000, so 20 years now. I started off in renewable energy and then moved into construction. So for the past 5 years, I've been a BREEAM assessor, and BREEAM stands for Building Research Establishment Environmental Assessment Method. It's the UK-based version of LEED, which is the American. And so LEED and BREEAM are the two major benchmarking certifications for sustainability and construction.
You know, I'm always interested in how the professionals in the field of sustainability start. I know from our previous conversation that we share the same alma mater. You've been studying in the University of East Anglia in Norwich, the UK. Could you tell me a little bit more like how you progress? What did you study and what led you specifically towards renewable energy and then energy efficiency?
Okay, so I started off at Brunel University in Uxbridge in West London, studying geography. Mm-hmm. And while I was a student there, I worked for a company called the Solar Energy Alliance. And then I transferred my degree to the University of East Anglia to do environmental science. And at the time, the environmental science course there was the best in the world, along with Cornell in the United States. Mm-hmm. So from there, I did the bachelor's in environmental science, and then I worked for a few years, and then I came back in 2007 and did a master's in environmental assessment and management. So that was a 1-year master's, and then from there I worked for the London Sustainability Exchange, and after that I moved to work in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam.
Wow.
With Vestas, the wind turbine company from Denmark. Mm-hmm. And I was there for only 4 months, but it was a good experience. And then I came back and I worked for WPP, the biggest marketing company in the world, doing market research. So I tried something different, and it gave me very good communication skills. Mm-hmm. And then I worked for a sustainability construction company, actually working on site with limecrete, which is a sustainable version of concrete, invented by the Romans. I worked on many old buildings in England, including Leicester Cathedral, where they reburied King Richard III, because they found him buried under a car park, so they reburied him in the cathedral. And then I moved to a multidisciplinary engineering firm called Create Consulting Engineers, where I was one of the sustainability consultants, and I trained as a BREEAM assessor. So I was there for 3 years and 8 months, and then I moved to an Irish engineering consultancy based just outside of Cork called Evolution Innovation. And they worked with off-site construction, so buildings that are made in factories. And I worked on the tallest off-site construction building in the world in Croydon in London, which is a twin tower 38 and 44 story building, and a 36 story student residential in Lewisham in London. Mm-hmm. And a Premier Inn hotel, and also Chelsea Barracks apartments, which cost £10 million a time. So I was working on tier 1 projects in London, the most expensive projects in London. And then I left there in June last year and set up my own sustainability consultancy with someone who was on my training course called Robin Tom, whose father set up a sustainability consultancy 30 years ago called Green Heat in Cambridge. And so we now have offices near Norwich, one in Cambridge, one in Birmingham, one in London, and we're opening one in New York at the moment. We have one in Doha, and we also have people in Montenegro, Brazil, and other places around the world.
That sounds so cool. That now you're talking about Green Easy, this international consultancy agency, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What other, so to say, pains that the clients come with? What they are looking for to implement when they approach you? What are they looking for? What do they want to achieve?
Well, in England, usually BREEAM is only carried out when it's a requirement of planning. So in London, all commercial buildings over a certain size are required to have BREEAM Excellent rating.
Mm-hmm.
But some buildings, like hotels, are required by the hotel board in the UK to have BREEAM. So I have a hotel project in Liverpool at the moment, which is also a BREEAM project. So I'm assessing how sustainable that is. And then I also have a refurbishment and fit out project in East London, which is basically a warehouse being refurbished and refitted for the occupier. So basically all the insides are gutted out and modernized, so all the systems are up to date.
Right, so it can be either a compulsory requirement, or certain clients, I assume, do implement BREEAM voluntarily. Do you have any cases like that?
If for example, a building like an investment company will actually see the value of having a BREEAM certification on the building because it's something that they can sell. So as an investment company that I was working for called Castleforge, with £500 million worth of funds, doing up buildings all over Europe. One of them was a 13-storey office development in Belfast, and it was a £10 million project. So they actually see that by putting this BREEAM certification on, when clients come to either buy or rent the building space, they can see that it's going to cost them less money to run because of the energy efficiency savings in the building.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell me a bit more about this BREEAM system? What does it consist of? What are you exactly looking at when you are assessing the building? Why can it be necessary? Because I will tell you why I'm asking this question. Many people do not believe in certification. They see it as kind of a unnecessary, simply money washing machine, where certificates do not mean much, which is of course not the case everywhere, but in somewhere, like in some certain industries, certification, it just, to have a paper, which doesn't mean always there is a real action behind.
If the certification is a good, robust certification like BREEAM, it proves that the building is actually sustainable. It's as simple as that, really.
What does a sustainable building mean? What is it? What are its key components?
It's with BREEAM, we assess a whole range of criteria and credits. These titles are such as health and well-being, management, energy, transport, water, materials, waste, land use and ecology, and pollution. And then you also get innovation credits for doing new things and for going above and beyond on certain credits.
Mm-hmm. Innovation like what, for example?
Like inventing new technology,
For example?
like a new type of solar panel that will make the building more energy efficient. That will add,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
or something that's been agreed with by the building research establishment, like a bespoke technology.
Okay. You are a certified auditor, right? A
So,
certified BREEAM auditor.
assessor.
Say it again?
I'm not an auditor. I'm an assessor.
Assessor. What's the difference, by the way? Because we say
Well, I
auditor.
always look at auditors as more of a sort of financial
Oh.
thing. So I associate the word auditor with like accountancy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay.
But
So assessor.
it is similar, but I prefer the word assessor because
Mm-hmm.
I'm assessing how sustainable something is. I'm not auditing to see how
Okay.
sustainable
Yeah.
it is.
So in your work of the building assessor, what are you looking at? Where do you start and where do you end? When you enter the building and you have the task to assess how sustainable it is.
So you start at the pre-concept design. So you go through the REBA stages in the UK. So you go start at the drawing board when the building is going into planning. And then you go to design stage. Well, you do a pre-assessment on the building to establish what credits will be targeted. So what score you're going to go for, whether you're going to go for a very good or an excellent rating or even an outstanding rating. And then so once you've got the score that you're going to target, you go through design stage and you work with the design team who are working on the building, or people from the contractors to the building services team to the architects. So there's lots of different people within the project, and then you collect the evidence from all these different people and you upload it to an online software, for example, like Tracker Plus, and then once you've got all the evidence for design stage, you submit it to the BRE, and then it is checked by the quality auditor, the QA. Sorry, the quality assurance assessment. And then you move on to post-construction stage once you've passed design stage, and this is assessing the actual finished building. So you go to site and take photos of the building to show that what has been said in design stage has actually been done when the building has been constructed.
Mm-hmm. And then you sort of compile a report.
And then you submit the post-construction stage, and once you've passed that, you get the final certificate, and then you can get like a plaque which you can put on the outside of the building with like from the BRE with a BREEAM, like very good or excellent or outstanding, and it shows that the building has the sustainability assessment, and it proves that the building is truly sustainable, and hopefully it will stand the test of time of improvements of sustainability, and it can always be changed in the future to be upgraded to new technology.
Mm-hmm. What is the certification body? Who do you submit the reports to? Who is the final voice?
So in England, well, the English one, as I said earlier, is the building research establishment, and they also have companies in Europe. They have a BREEAM Nor, which is the Norway, a BREEAM SES, which is Spanish, and there's also BREEAM in France and BREEAM NL in the Netherlands. But you can have a BREEAM international assessment all over the world. And as I said earlier, there's also LEED, which is the similar sort of assessment from America, which is very popular all over the world, but it's usually worked with architects rather than sustainability consultants. So if you're a LEED assessor, you don't really class yourself as a sustainability consultant. You're more sort of working on other things. Like, but with BREEAM, you're sort of purely a sustainability consultant.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said earlier, there's other types of things like WELL, which looks at the health and well-being inside of the building. So how healthy it is to work in the building environment.
How do you assess this? Do you simply look at the data, which kind of materials were used? For example, I don't know, asbestos or I don't know, some dust that should not be there. How do you know this particular criteria, health and well-being? What do you look at?
So with health and well-being, you're looking at things like indoor air quality, like the VOX, so the materials, how polluting they are, and also the security of the building, whether there's open space outside of the building. The facts, you look at whether the office is laid out so the desks have a view out, and the windows are a certain size so you're getting enough light into the building. There's a whole range of criteria that are required to get certain credits.
Right, and people, I assume, do comply, because I'm while we are talking, I'm trying to assess my environment, and I only get light, like sunlight, at the sunset. I mean, not enough, definitely.
So you're probably in a non-compliant room right now.
I am afraid the whole country in the non-compliant, buildings. We're sitting now in the spaces that were not designed for that, for sitting, for working. Definitely not everyone has a home office.
There's a lot of BREEAM work being carried out in Poland and Lithuania. It's very popular there. Many buildings, many large office developments.
Mm-hmm.
So BREEAM is increasing in popularity around the world. And as you're from Ukraine, I think it's also working there. I know in Russia, the BREEAM is taking off. So it's good. And as I said, BREEAM started in 1990, so we have 30 years experience now of assessing buildings. And I think there's been over 2 million buildings around the world worked on.
Mm-hmm. Certified, approved as good for living and working inside. I have a question. Is there any sort of standard or a guideline that the architects and designers can consult with while building?
What do you mean exactly?
So as far as I understood, you were assessing the buildings that have already been constructed. So you enter into something already existing and say...
No, so we do brand new buildings and then also we refurbish buildings, so it's both.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever been in a professional situation where you enter the building, you assess it, and you say, you know what, it's unrepairable, it's beyond a reconstruction, and this building has to be simply ruined?
Not in my professional career, but maybe that is the case. But I think you want to try and avoid demolition, because demolition and reconstruction is a lot worse for the environment than refurbishment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so you had to go through a special training to become an assessor. Where is it happening?
So the base of the BRE, the Building Research Establishment in England, is in Watford, which is just near London.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other, certification agencies around the world?
So LEED is in America, as I said, but you can do the training for LEED online. You don't, and then you have an exam. But I'm not a LEED AP, so I haven't done that training yet. So I haven't experienced that. So when I get that far, I will probably. I think you either take the exam online or you have to go to a centre and do it. But it's not so much like in England where you have to go to the main HQ and be trained at the main, because I suppose in America it's such a lot bigger country than England. That is, everyone has to fly to places, but in England you can just get there by car, because it's a small country.
How long does it take to study?
Well, the actual course is only 3 days, but then you have to go away and learn a lot more about it and then come back. So you do a 3-day course and then you come back maybe 2 months later and sit an exam, which is very difficult, but you have the book to look at, but it's still very complicated and you have a multiple choice. So some of the answers are quite ambiguous. So it could be like, you have four answers and it could be like A and B. So it's difficult. And I think I got, you have to pass 70%, and I think I got 73%. And then I did my refurbishment and fit out exam, and actually it was so difficult the first time that I failed. And then I went back and I spoke to someone who directed the course and he helped me and I passed second time.
So I'm just thinking that, there must be, to do this sort of certification, there must be a demand for this kind of work. And I'm trying to think how and when this thing can happen in Ukraine. Who must be interested in the first place? Is it the government? Is it the state? Is it private sector?
It's a bit of both. It's the government. The government could decide to say, look, we're going to put it into policy and have a requirement for all new buildings to be BREEAM assessed. Or you could go and have a meeting with owners of property developers and say, look, this is really good. It's going to save you money in the long run by reducing the cost of the running of your building, and it's going to make your buildings more valuable. I recommend that you carry out this assessment. So there's various ways of going about it.
Energy efficiency is one of the criteria in BREEAM certification, right?
So yeah, energy is one of the sections.
And I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, is it the easiest one to fix in the building among other criteria?
No.
No? Which one is the easiest?
I don't think you could say any of them are easy. They're all difficult in different ways.
But coming back to the energy efficiency, let's say I am a simple citizen. I don't know anything about that, and I am not the owner of the building. Let's say I'm renting an office. Where do I start if I want to save up on the costs related to the heating and energy efficiency? How do I prevent the leakage of energy?
So if you're just a citizen renting like a residential apartment, it's quite difficult to retrofit because a lot of the technology has to be done in the construction or refurbishment. So when the building is changed or built, but there are certain technologies that you can use. For example, you can maybe change the heating source of the building and add a heat pump, which is like an air conditioning unit, which is reversed. So it takes the heat from outside and puts it into the building. So it's all electric. And then if you have a roof space, you could add solar panels. And then there's things like you could add an electric car charging point. So and then you have an electric car as well, and you can have a battery to store the energy from your solar. So the solar power is obviously in the daytime, and then it's stored in the battery, and you can use it at night time as well. So you can, if you have enough solar panels, you could supposedly be off grid. And then there's also the water side of things as well. So you can be more efficient with water. Where you can put devices onto your taps to reduce the flow rate, so you use less water on your shower, and then there are systems in place where you can put in not personally, but when the building's built or refurbished, you can put in rainwater collection. So the rainwater is collected and used in the building. And then also the water that is used, for example, in the taps for the bath or the sink is reused and used in the toilets, and that's called grey water.
Mm-hmm. You know, you just made me think, not even think, dream about my own house being an eco house, like a smart house. Now I'm starting to collect the ideas aside. What will I do?
We also have architects in our company who can design sustainable architecture, so we could design you an eco house and then also assess it, because there's also something called the home quality mark, which is a way of assessing houses.
How popular is this idea now in the UK, for example?
So they used to have something in the UK called the Code for Sustainable Homes, which was compulsory, but then they took it away because they thought it was slowing down the house building industry. So the houses got less environmentally friendly. Mm-hmm. So that, but they have this thing called the home quality mark, which is voluntary. So not many companies decide to use it. So hopefully they'll change the policy again to bring in compulsory sustainability certification, but we have to lobby the government. So it's like the same worldwide. You have to put pressure on the government to bring in these policies.
Mm-hmm. But policies aside, like general public people, how popular is the idea of the smart house, environmentally sustainable house? Well, you have private clients that come with this idea to you.
Yes, there's a lot of people who say, can you build me an eco house? They have many shows in the UK for building eco houses in big venues and arenas where people go and find out about technology to build their own house. So it's very popular, but to build an eco house is quite expensive because the technology is still quite above normal prices. And also land in England is very expensive. So if you want to buy a plot of land to build a house, it's about £200,000. Maybe in other countries in the world, it's a lot cheaper.
The prices will go down eventually with the crisis, everyone says. So yeah, okay, one pre-last question, a book recommendation from you on sustainability, on sustainable building, something that influenced you.
Well, if you're interested in assessment, this isn't actually a book, but you can access the manual for BREEAM online. So if you want to research about BREEAM or LEED or other certifications, I recommend you Googling BREEAM or LEED and type in manual as well. Then you can learn all about the certain areas of the assessment, and then you can apply it to your own house or your own commercial building. And yeah, it's a very interesting subject because it's constantly changing with technology, and also we are sort of professional eco warriors in a way, and we feel now is the time that we have to do something about our planet, otherwise it could die. Yeah. And we have been polluting it very badly in the last 100, 200 years. So some of us are now realizing we've got to stop digging up fossil fuels because we don't need to do that. We can live with clean, renewable housing and energy, and it's possible. So, and also we're developing now electric flight and electric boats. So we've noticed with this coronavirus that the pollution has decreased a lot. So in future, hopefully travel will be done electrically. So electric boats to take people around the world on holiday, small electric planes to go on short flights, but boats, I think, could be the future. It takes longer time to travel, but at least it's more sustainable. The problem is we are burning a lot of oil and gas and still coal as well, which is dreadful. And we're still investing in nuclear energy, which is a technology which is problematic with radioactive waste. So hopefully if we improve the, if we decrease the carbon of construction and energy and living, so we create less food waste and things like that, very quickly the world will become a more sustainable place.
Thank you. We'll definitely look into the manual. And yeah, on this philosophical note, on this positive and optimistic note, could you please give one piece of advice for the listeners of Sustainability Explored?
So personally, in your life, the way you live, you can use electric transport, you can cycle a lot more, you can use food that has had less food miles, you can waste less food. So there's lots of small things you can do. And then you can also put pressure on your governments and councils to make your country more sustainable, and also lobby big companies by maybe becoming shareholders and going to shareholder meetings and trying to get them to be more sustainable. I know this word sustainable keeps coming up, but it is very important nowadays.
Mm-hmm. To be active globally in these issues. Thank you very much, Tom, for discussing today with me green buildings, sustainable buildings, and the certification BREEAM. Thanks for your time, for sharing your wisdom, and have a good day.
Could I just say one thing before you end? You can find us on LinkedIn and Facebook, and also our website is www.greeneasy, one word, the color green and easy, www.greeneasy.global,
mm-hmm.
GLOBAL, greeneasy.global.
I will leave the link in the show notes.
So we're happy to answer any questions. So you'll find our contact details on the website.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you
Super.
very much.
Super. Thank you very much again. And it was great talking to you today. Ciao, ciao.
I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and your audience. Thank you.
Thanks. Ciao.